Oh, I bought the physical copy, baby.
Yeah, me too.
That seemed like the way you have to go. Or did it start out as an ebook?
No, it's. I was reading some on the inside flap and looking up kind of how he wrote it. I guess he wrote it as like just separate leaves of paper that he all kind of like bound together and then handed around to people. I was like, wow,
wonderful.
It's
one way to do it, I guess. It's very Jack Kerouac of him.
Yeah. I mean, the picture I saw with him, he had like bright blue hair, so I guess it's not too.
See, I saw him, he had like a straw hat on, so I don't know. I didn't look too deep into the guy, which I was supposed to, but Spencer came over for a podcast, and I didn't do any research for that. I was talking to that British gentleman again, and he was telling me some more stuff about his podcast setup and that. Hey there, folks. You are listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. I'm your host, Caleb James. With me today, new guest, Ashleigh Hatter. How are you doing, Ashleigh?
What's up?
We are doing a Storycast episode. No, we're not. That's the reading stuff on the internet. I haven't come up with a title for this.
That was a blatant lie.
Well, it can't be the book of the month because this isn't just the book of the month. We're ongoing with this. It's not a simple review, if you will.
Man, now we're having to get creative. That's a tough endeavor.
Yeah, too bad we're not like writers or something.
We should hire one.
I'm sure there's a guy out there. I say we go with undetermined title, and we'll figure that out later.
All right.
Because we are professional. We think ahead. We did at least plan to do these episodes ahead. That's one thing.
Yeah. Give credit where credit's due.
Right. So, for the fans listening, we are going to be covering, I would suppose, in a weekly series. Hopefully we can keep up with our reading schedule. We are going to be covering House of Leaves. And this could be a read-along, so by the time this episode is dropped, you guys can let us know if it's something you would like to get involved in and hit us up on the old Drunken Pen Writing. So, have you read House of Leaves before? I have not.
I read it, I want to say like 8 to 10 years ago, so I have the vaguest recollection of anything in there.
When I was thumbing through it real quick, I kind of got the feeling I would also have a vague recollection after just reading it because seemed a little wild.
It's pretty intense from what I remember. It's kind of all over the place. Like his writing style, and this is based on, I read another one of his books called The 50-Year Sword.
Right.
And that was really good too. That one's kind of, it's weird in the way that he can shift up his writing style. Like his prose changes with every character that he writes from. So, like, he'll use certain grammatical cues and stuff like that with certain characters, or if he's going from a documentary standpoint. But then if he's going from just like a, homeless bum on the street or something like that, right. It's completely different.
That so weird. Intrigues me to check maybe more of his work out after this. Now, because I only kind of briefly read some reviews and stuff for this, the main complaint was people felt the way he wrote this book was kind of pretentious, almost, I guess it's like a postmodernist type of book, but they got like that modern art vibe with it. Now, since you've read it, did you get any of that kind of feeling, or did you just think it was like an original work?
I mean, if they're talking about the formatting, I guess I can see how people can snub their nose at it, but I really thought it added something to the book. It made it weird because it's such an easy concept to kind of laugh at, like a house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. What in the world? Why would that be scary? But
right,
the way he formats his book I think it adds to it. It kind of gives the claustrophobic feel and everything like that.
Well, before we go on, let me just do the book description real quick so anybody that's not familiar with it knows what we're talking about here. Years ago, when House of Leaves was first being passed around, it was nothing more than a badly bundled heap of paper, parts of which would occasionally surface on the internet. No one could have anticipated the small but devoted following this terrifying story would soon command. Starting with an odd assortment of marginalized youth, musicians, tattoo artists, programmers, strippers, environmentalists, and adrenaline junkies, the book eventually made its way into the hands of older generations, who not only found themselves in those strangely arranged pages, but also discovered a way back into the lives of their estranged children. Ooh, made people feel some things, man.
Man, it brought the family close together.
Oh, who can hate that? But it didn't describe the book. Let me continue. Now, this is like a 4-paragraph introduction here for this book. Now, for the first time, this astonishing novel was made available in book form, complete with the original colored words, vertical footnotes, and newly added second and third appendices. The story remains unchanged, focusing on a young family that moves into a small home on Ash Tree Lane where they discovered something is terribly wrong. Their house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. Of course, neither Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist Will Davidson nor his companion Karen Green was prepared to face the consequences of that impossibility until the day their 2 little children wandered off and their voices eerily began to return another story of creature darkness, of an ever-growing abyss behind a closet door, and of that unholy growl which soon enough would tear through their walls and consume all their dreams. Good luck fitting that on the back of a book jacket. Jeez, it's a long description.
It like started with a Hallmark Channel sort of like, it'll help your family, and then it goes into, and it'll destroy you in the process.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That makes me want to read it all the more. 705 pages. When I first checked this out, I was like, man, that's going to be a long set of readings we're going to be doing for this. But a lot of the pages, when I was just flipping through, are just like one word or the same word repeated a million times. So I don't think it'll be as bad as I first thought.
That, and there's like 150, 200 pages of appendices.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to read those or not.
Yeah, it's like, I don't remember if those are necessary for the entire reading experience. I guess I'll find out.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see where this goes. As far as reading, what do you hope to get out of this book? I mean, you read it once, so you might not even get as much as I will just going into it fresh, but just as originality and creativity, I'm hoping this might spark something in me, as good literature always seems to do.
Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to maybe having something to kick me in the butt, maybe ruffle my feathers and inspire some originality in my storytelling. I'm always looking for something to shake it up.
It's always a good thing.
Get out of a rut.
I've been in a bad rut lately, man. My writing has gone down the tubes, but as far as video making, podcasts, and everything else, I have been aces. I've been doing a great job, so
yeah.
At least it gets give and take.
That, Twilight fan fiction you're writing, right?
Got me all aroused, you know?
It's the sparkles.
You know what? That episode's going to release next week, but the one I recorded with Spencer just before this one was about sci-fi, and it was a kind of shallow article on how to write good sci-fi. It wasn't very helpful, but we decided that I would imagine more closer to the end of the summer, and you can hop aboard, feel free to, we're going to start reading at least one book in every genre we don't read. So you got your romance, your westerns, your young adult fiction. We're just going to see what kind of weirdness we can get into. Maybe we are, overlooking some genres. Maybe we're being too harsh on others. I think it'll be a good eye-opener, if anything.
I couldn't help but notice that you left out the erotica. So is that something that you peruse on a daily basis, maybe semi-weekly?
Oh, I love the erotica.
Oh, yeah, baby.
I will say this about the erotica. Your descriptions have to be on point if you're writing it, so it might not be too shabby.
I mean, sometimes the descriptions are a little too creative. I was like, wait, what are we talking? Oh, it's a penis. I forgot.
Yeah,
that's...
When you can use the word gross, it might not be the best erotica. Trying to go back on topic here. Yeah, I'm kind of with you with the hope in this might ruffle some feathers here in my writing, because like I said, I was in a little bit of a slump, and it's not just necessarily a writing funk, it's more of a creativity slump. It's like I'm not viewing things in the original way I normally do, so I feel like my writing is definitely suffering from that. And even the stories I do want to write, I'm not telling them in a creative way. So I'm hoping this might, because usually when I read weird things like this, it definitely sparks my imagination. I go on a good 3-month writing run after that.
Yeah.
Now whether that's a good writing run or not, that's a different story. I don't know though. It just looks so weird. I should have brought the book in with me, but it's like 500 pounds, so I didn't feel like lugging it in. But
yeah, I forgot my when we were moving into my apartment. I forgot my dumbbells at one of the last places I lived. So I just bought 2 copies of House of Leaves and started working out with that. I was like, man,
technically pound for pound, it's cheaper to buy those 2 big ass books than it is to buy a dumbbell set.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Hey, you know what? Also, that dickhead Spencer decided, it's a good idea, Caleb. I'm going to bring over Salem's Lot for you to read. It's like, thanks, Spencer. That's only like 700 pages right there of a book I had no plan on reading.
You're the best.
Yay. He sees my 2-read collection in my room, and it's gigantic right now, and he just wants to keep adding to it. And then he'll bring over random comics, too. I'm like, come on, man. I'm only one person here. You want me to ever write again? I can't be doing this all the time.
Maybe that's a strategy. Keep you from writing so that he has a greater chance to get published and everything.
Yeah, I might just be keeping him down, man.
It's devious.
If you get your editor to stop paying attention to what you're doing because he's too busy reading stuff, then you can get away with a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, I was looking through House of Leaves again, and I forgot that some of the stuff's like some of the words are backwards, and other sections are completely redacted, and it's crazy what he does with this stuff. So I don't remember too much about it, so I'm interested to see how the format changes the storytelling.
I would be very interested to see how he wrote the book originally. If there's like a documentary or something, I would be all about that, because this could not have been an easy undertaking.
And he started writing like this huge series of books called The Familiar, and I think he got through like volumes 4 or 5 or something, and it's written almost the exact same way. It's just like words everywhere. The format's all funky. It's weird. I guess he's pretty consistent with using the layout of words to accentuate the story. So, he's got that going for him.
It would really suck to be that guy's copy editor. Like, you have to read, or the guy who has to format the book. Like, that's gonna be terrible.
It's like, God damn it, Danielewski.
What are you doing to me, man?
I hate you. What did I do to you? Yeah, that book I mentioned before, the 50-Year Sword, all the text is on the right page. So there's absolutely no text on the left, and the paper that he used is just a little thicker than your standard paperback paper.
Oh, those poor trees.
And yes, so after a while, and this fits into the story, so I'm not giving too much away. But your thumb actually starts like burning. It starts feeling like you got a paper cut because you're reading it so fast and turning so many pages, because it's so quick to read just on the right hand side, and that physical sensation of your thumb starting to feel like it's bleeding actually works its way into the story. It's pretty cool. I was like, oh man, that's awesome.
I would have never thought of that.
I know.
That's a easy way to write half a book and get away with it.
Yeah, no joke. It's like, dang it.
Well, here's what the author Danielewski had to say about writing House of Leaves, or what maybe started him on it. Danielewski dates the origin of his debut novel, House of Leaves, to 1990 in a story that he wrote after finding out that his father was dying. 1990, my father was head of the USC School of Theater. I was living in New York. Then I got the phone call, the "Mark, your father is dying" phone call. He was in the hospital. Renal failure, cancer. I got on a Greyhound bus and headed west. Over the course of 3 sleepless nights and 3 sleepless days, I wrote a 100-plus page piece entitled Redwood. I remember using a fountain pen. I barely had the change to buy sodas and snacks along the way, and there I am scratching out words with the absurdly expensive thing of polished resin and gold. I'd like to say it was a pelican, but I don't think that's correct. Another thing I seem to remember, the paper I was writing on had a pale blue cast to it. There was also something about how the pen seemed to bite into the paper at the same time as it produced these lush sweeps of ink. A kind of cutting and spilling, almost as if a page could bleed. My intention had been to present this piece of writing as a gift to my father. As has been mentioned many times before, my father responded with the suggestions that I pursue a career at the post office. I responded by reducing the manuscript to confetti. going so far as to throw myself a pity parade in a nearby dumpster. My sister responded by returning later to that dumpster, rescuing the confetti, and taping it all back together. Is this family just insane? Or at least this guy? That's ridiculous.
Got to be hyperbole. There's no way she could find every scrap of paper.
He definitely didn't
tore it up that day.
Yeah, he did not tear it up into confetti. Maybe in half and quarters a couple times, but that's it.
He might have crumpled it. I feel like he's trying to one-up Stephen King with the whole Carrie story, like how Stephen King was pissed off with it and threw it away, and his wife rescued it from the trash can.
Now, there's two things. See, yeah, I do kind of get that feeling. There's two things here. Either one, he's being a little pretentious, as people have said of him before, or just artsy. Or two, he just really hates paper. I mean, he's stabbing it with the pen. It's bleeding all over the place.
Reduces it to confetti.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But I don't know.
House of Leaves took him it was a 10-year project. And the task of finding a publisher for it was almost as daunting as the book was for its first readers. I couldn't imagine the first copy of this book.
Hey, will you read this? And they just told it how.
Yeah. Where do we start?
Where do I...
Oh, man. Let's see what else he has to say here.
And I mean, I guess I can almost buy that story of how it came to be, or supposedly came to be, up to the point where he's like, and I wanted to present it to my dying father. I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, I write something just random and crappy or whatever.
Yeah.
If I'm getting something out, like I'm going through a hard time, I get that. It's like, it's therapeutic, but I never want to be like, hey, I feel like I should present this to somebody dying as like the last story they're ever going to read.
Yeah. Yeah. How would that make you feel?
It's like, wow, what if it's shitty?
There's a very good chance it would be shitty too.
Yeah. It's like all the typos, grammatical errors. I just sent you to hell with like a horrible read along the way.
Here's an interesting quotable. According to Joe Hill and Stephen King, they were having a conversation and they decided that House of Leaves was the Moby Dick of horror. I mean, I don't know if there's tons of talk about whaling in House of Leaves, but just chapters of whaling that nobody wants to read, but it sounds like it might be interesting.
I mean, I try to separate my my opinions of the author from the work, because otherwise I'm going to hate like most of the books that I actually end up loving.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I'm like, Danielewski kind of sounds like a prick, but maybe he's, his writing, from what I remember, is pretty good. So
I don't care how pretentious he is, as long as the stories are good.
Yeah, no joke.
Apparently, someone had to go through the trouble of translating this book into almost every language, but could you imagine Japanese? Like, how? Like with the formatting, like Chinese, Cantonese, whatever, any Asian language, especially Japanese with the characters, that would be, now talk about daunting.
No joke. Or then you get into like the super Slavic ones or the Nordic ones like Iceland, and like they have 6 pages for a single word because of how stupid long their words are.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you do that?
You might as well just be hammering, something into like a hunk of stone, because it's like that'd be ridiculous. How long is that book in like Finnish or Icelandic? Is it just 8,000 pages? Is it like Proust, to Remembrance of Things Past? Just endless.
It's like 14 volumes.
Now, I wanted to go into this as fresh as possible, so I didn't really look into it before the podcast and stuff, and it seems like this is going to be a little bit of a daunting read. Because my sister actually was reading this a couple months ago. I don't know if she finished it because she was having trouble following what was happening, like as just a casual reader. So how should we do like the page numbers for this, reading wise?
Shit. I have no idea. Let me get this brick out real quick and take a look.
Yeah, because one week we could say we're doing, read 50 pages. But then half of those are just random stuff that you can skip through. And then the next week we read the same 50 pages and it takes forever.
Yeah. I don't know. Where's the freaking... There it is. Holy crap. Yeah. I'm looking at the table of contents as a forward on page 7, the Roman numeral crap. Introduction on page 11, and then the Davidson record starts page 1, which I'm guessing is like the actual novel. And then it goes Exhibits 1-6. I don't know what that means, but it's on page 529. So I'm like, oh, thank God it's like broken into chapters, or it's not.
Yeah, that's why I said page numbers.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just figure it out.
I forgot about the footnotes, man. Some of these pages are like 3 pages of footnotes alone.
Oh.
So, yeah, and I remember that the footnotes sometimes contradict completely what you're reading. So you'll read like, hey, I walked up the stairs, and then the footnotes will go into all these false records of like, no, actually he didn't walk up the stairs. He, went to the back. This is a horrible example. But
Are the
it's
footnotes
meant to, like, fuck with your brain.
Is it like the actual story is somebody telling the story, and the footnotes is a record of the story, like a police record or something like that?
Kind of. The best I can remember is that, because if you like open the cover and you go to the title page, it says House of Leaves by Zampano with introduction and notes by Johnny Truant.
Right.
So it's like this is a book compiled by a guy named Johnny Truant, like out of the notes of a guy named Zampano about a documentary called the Davidson Records that didn't actually exist. So it's super weird. It's like all this stuff doesn't exist and acknowledges that it doesn't exist, but it's so specific. Like it'll have all these sources cited. I'm like, what the crap?
That sounds like a very elaborate version of William Goldman's The Princess Bride.
Yeah, I haven't read that one yet. I need to.
The book version is about a novel written by S. Morgenstern. I think that's the guy's name, made up guy.
Yeah.
And it's been a while since I read it, but it's about, I think, a guy and his kid are trying to find either the original novel, like he's reading a version to the kid, but it's not the original, and he's trying to find the original or something like that. But it has a lot of that stuff where it's like a story written inside of a story about a story. It's weird.
It's like Inception.
Inception, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a bad mushroom trip. Oh, my whole body hurts from sitting in this chair for 2 hours.
Gosh, man.
Oh. And I got the good chair. Poor Spencer. He got the rough one.
He deserves it.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely does.
Makes your keyboard all sticky and all that, so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does. He makes a lot of things sticky. That's okay. My whole house is sticky at this point. Doesn't matter who did it.
Man.
Yeah, you don't want to come over. It's gross. Oh, man. Has this book been turned into a movie or TV show or anything? Has anybody tried to adapt it?
As far as I know, it hasn't. And honestly, I don't know how anyone would be able to do it because it's... Yeah. Gosh, cat, get off me.
Don't touch that pussy.
Animal. She keeps twirling around my legs and trying to scratch my legs while her tail's like 2 inches from the hookah coal.
Nice.
Like, well, I guess you're going to catch on fire.
That would make things interesting.
Just hear screaming in the background.
So at least my dog's been behaved. I don't know what he's doing in the other room, but he's behaved. Well, you know what it is, actually. I have a dope clinic next to my house, which sucks because it wasn't here when I moved in, obviously. And when me and Spencer got done with the first podcast we recorded earlier, there was a knock at the door, and some guy from over there holding a random baby wanted to use my outside outlet for something. I don't even know if the outlet works. Then he was just, and I was like, sure, buddy, whatever. And he was, of course, he was in my driveway by Spencer's car. He's sitting there doing something I couldn't see. So anyway, he ended up leaving, but my dog has been looking out the window the whole time waiting for that guy to come back because I think he wants to eat him. He wants to eat him or that baby. I'm not sure.
Oh, God.
And I think that baby was high. I think that baby was on drugs. Looked weird. It might not even been it might have been a doll. I don't know. I wasn't paying too much attention. But that guy looked like something out of this book. His eyes were bugging out and he was weird looking.
No.
So that's how my evening's going.
Oh man, I'm looking through it right now and I'm like, oh god, you're gonna have to like turn the book upside down sometimes. And
well, hold on a second. Let me go get my copy. I want to check out this Bad Mama Jamma.
I'm all alone. There's no one here beside me. There he is.
Hey, dude, this thing is gonna destroy my bag that I take with me to work. Like I have a little messenger bag. This thing is gonna weigh it down by 800 pounds, and I already have like a bunch of books and stuff in it to begin with. Like,
gotta lift with your legs, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some kind of satchel or something douchey to wear to handle this bad boy.
It looks like within the actual like meat of the book, it's separated into sections, subsections.
Yes.
So we might be able to do it that way. I was afraid that it was all going to be like just a straight story all the way through, and I'm like, oh man, how do we even keep track?
Here's my problem. I just flipped through a good 20 pages or more that are at most a paragraph, some just words. So we will fly through literally half of this book super fast. But then I got to this part in the middle that's just solid, dense, small text. One block. Like no paragraph indentations or anything.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, I see what you see, though, or what you're saying about it actually going into a story, perhaps.
Yeah.
I'm excited to read this, though. It looks weird. I like weird.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. Oh my gosh, I just stumbled across freaking Morse code.
I'm not figuring that one out.
Is either Morse code or Braille? No, it's Braille.
Braille. That's
except it's not raised.
How are you supposed to read it?
Man. Yeah, this is going to be weird. Oh man. It's like an entire page was just a section of X's. Oh man, if you get into like the 440 or 450 section, it's like all the words are cutting off.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. Oh man, yeah, they are cut off. Trippy. It's like you're just reading the middle of a sentence that just got chopped in half.
Yeah. So I was thinking maybe I'd write something like this and send it to you, and you can let me know kind of what you were thinking, and maybe help me get it published.
Yeah, I would do that. You can figure out how to format that, or how to send that formatted like that.
Yeah, no joke. I don't even know how you do that.
This would be a nightmare. When I say I get a poem or something for drunken pen writing, and it's written in Google Docs or something, and people just put, like the indentation, not a full indentation, but maybe a space and stuff, and like the words flow, kind of like how this has, sentences that kind of flow like shapes. If you put that into WordPress, it just turns into a block. There's no way I can figure out how to save the original poem style, which sucks. So I couldn't imagine trying to format some beast like this.
Yeah.
I wonder how the ebook looks. That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
That might have been the way to go. Well, but I'm talking about like the pages that you have to flip like upside down and stuff.
Yeah, or sideways and...
Well, sideways, it wouldn't work in the ebook format, so that's what I'm... Well, this one's sideways and upside down. Like, why?
And there's one written at like a 45-degree angle on just the corners of the page. It's like, what?
At least he had the decency to keep the page numbers intact. He didn't mess those up.
Like music.
Why?
He wrote music notes on like page 478 and 479.
Just music notes?
Yeah. It's like an empty bar on 478, and then 479 is just like a song.
Okay, and it's vertical also.
Yeah.
Then the next page just has it says, "Don't be scared," upside down in quotation marks at the top of the page. And then the bottom, upside down, says, "Don't be," on the next page.
Wait, so how would you read that? If you're holding it upside down, do you start reading the other page first? Would you read 79 and then 78?
I couldn't tell you. You have to ask the author. You think this guy at some point was just like, I'm going to see what they will publish. I'm just going to fuck with people.
What can I get away with?
What kind of drugs would make you write like this? Very erratic and all over the place.
I don't know. That seems like Spencer's specialty. I'm just a
I'll have to ask him.
hookah smoking guy. Yeah.
No, I don't think he's messing with the stuff that makes you write this kind of work. If not, he might be published by now. I can see why this would be almost a violent read. Like, this would be one of those ones you might get a little frustrated sometimes. Page 626 just goes into Spanish at some point.
What?
It has some Spanish, but then it goes into, like, the next page is just the word forgive blocked into all kinds of wild stuff. I wonder if there's more Spanish in here. I'd like that.
Yeah, there's in the 620s. Dude, you're going to hate this. Like, 622 has a paragraph that's all one sentence. And it's got, like, random letters that are capitalized. And 625 is stupid, man. How do you do that? I don't get it.
This was made to piss off an editor, right? This wasn't...
This is just a spite book. It wasn't even meant to get this far. It's just to be like, I hate you.
I wish we had video we could show of this. I really hope our listeners check this book out just for the entertainment value. Just as an art piece, this is worth having.
And then every time the word house appears, it's always written in blue.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's where I got I wrote a story called Lavatory, and I got inspiration to do, I think it was the word door in that story. I wrote it in red every time.
That was the one where somebody was stuck in the bathroom, or just in the bathroom. I don't think they were stuck in there, right? It's a while since I read
they
that.
were stuck in the bathroom, and nobody could hear them on the outside. And
okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. It's fun. Wrote that one on 3 days without sleep because my youngest child was being born.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yep.
Here's a thought. Say somebody wanted to borrow this book after I got done reading it, told them all about it. Well, what if on these blank pages I just drew in a very sturdy pen, just a bunch of wieners and stuff? They would probably just think I was a part of the book, right?
They might.
Just big dongs. Like, I like that book, but it was all these wieners. I don't get it. What did that have to do with the story?
It's like, why are there so many dicks everywhere?
There's just so many.
I don't know. They might draw a different conclusion from it's a metaphor for man's, battle for identity and
what masculinity really means in America in 2019. I'm going to write a book like this, but I'm just going to write it in the style of an Indian man sliding into a girl's DMs on the internet. It's like, hey, baby, show me your bobs and your vagina.
Vagina. Sounds like that's like Star Wars speak right there.
That's how they say it. Oh, man, 3 pages of X's? Get out of town. Why? What does this mean? I have a feeling when I actually read this, I'm still not going to understand some of this.
Well, not with that attitude, you won't.
Yeah, I know. Jeez Louise. So, we're going to be reading House of Leaves, people, by Mark Z. Danielewski. I think I called him Danielewski earlier. Danielewski. Like a brewski. Because he must have had a lot when he wrote this thing.
No joke.
I like the actual... I don't know if you have the same book edition as me.
Yep.
I like the kind of cool layout here.
And if memory serves, the whole shortened front cover, the fact that it's like a half an inch shorter than the rest of the book, is significant as well. Has something to do with like the first time that the Navidson or whatever the main guy's name discovers that the house is larger on the inside than the outside.
Right.
It's like everything. It's all been planned.
How do you plan it though? Like what did this guy do for the 10 years he was writing this? How did he have money to live?
Maybe he was one of those homeless guys on the streets that mutters about pigeons and the war between gobstoppers and chewing gum, and
somebody finally took him seriously.
Yeah. Or maybe he just followed around a bunch of crazy homeless people and just wrote down what they said.
That's probably a better way to do it.
Yeah.
He kind of looked like he could have been a homeless guy, though. He was weird looking. And his first place to escape his problems is to go to a dumpster, so just saying.
Yeah, it's like, I've never thought about that. It's like, yeah.
Like, when I was as low as I can go in life, I don't remember running to the nearest dumpster and be like, fuck it, I'm just jumping in, man. Like, how do you end up in that point in your life when you're not homeless, but you're at the dumpster? And your sister just knows you're getting. Oh, he's having a hard time. That old Mark. I bet he's at his dumpster again.
He always goes to the dumpsters.
Oh, that fuck.
Yeah,
come on,
he's
Mark.
A trashy individual.
Come on, Mark. Get on out of there now.
You want to go to Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah. And I'll pick up that gigantic pile of shredded paper and put it back together.
I just happen to have Scotch tape on me.
Wait a minute. I think I just came to a conclusion here.
Whoa.
Now, some of these pages, as you are aware, are just words in weird orders and all over the place. Perhaps she didn't do such a good job of taping those pages back together.
That might be true, yeah. And then how he said, like, because in some of the pages it's like words written on top of words. Maybe his pen just bled through on the other page, so maybe it's not as artsy as we think.
Maybe he's just very poor at what he does, and it just came out as art. That's what kind of most modern art is. It's just people throwing shit literally at the wall, and then other people thinking it's amazing for some reason.
Yeah. I'm going to laugh. He listens to this and sends us hate mail.
It wouldn't be the first time somebody's listened to us and sent us hate mail. Actually, we don't get nearly as much hate mail as I think. Or as I would like, rather.
As you would like.
Yeah, because I would read them on air if we did get some. We got some good, happy, nice letters, but no hate. So people, if you want to send hate mail, that is drunkenpenwriting@gmail.com. Send your hate mail. Let us know how bad we suck, how much you don't like our voices, how the audio quality is terrible, and how you just generally don't like our topics.
Yeah.
That should cover everything.
I'm sure they'll think of something else.
I don't know. Whatever the awards are for podcasts, I'm hoping Spencer wins one just so I can say, heh. All right. I guess we should wrap this bitch up because it's going on 40-something minutes, and I don't know what else we can discuss about this book.
I mean, we've talked a lot about not knowing anything about something, so that's
pretty much what we always do. I will say we will do an episode, not record it, but publish an episode on this wonderful book every Friday. That seems like that'll be reasonable. That's when we normally do our drunken bullshit episodes, and this one probably won't be too far off, so we'll throw those out, see how people like them.
Indeed.
Alrighty, sir. Well, it was a pleasure having you on when your vocals are actually working properly.
I know, right? It's like magic.
Now, don't get mad when I tell you that I actually forgot to hit the record button, so...
Damn you, Caleb!
That actually only happened to us once, and it was literally the only time we probably had like an awesome episode. We had like a solid 30 minutes of great discussion, and then I looked, and because there was like something that happened before we started recording, and I looked and I was like, dude, it didn't record, and we just gave up. And now this is the Drunken Pen Writing podcast you get now. Is just two guys who've given up.
Let's go get drunk.
Yeah, we used to write scripts, plan it out. Now, fuck it, get drunk. People like it just the same.
Maybe even more.
Right. All right. Well, for those listening still, if you haven't abandoned us yet, like I said, we'll be doing House of Leaves for the next month or 7. It depends how long it takes to get through this thing. If you are interested in checking out our coherent, for the most part, writing, you can go to drunkenpenwriting.com. You can hit us up on Drunk Pen Writing at Twitter, on the Twitter. And we have a Facebook page, but you can go to that if you want, if you're really old or something. And we have a Goodreads group, which Mr. Ashleigh Hatter moderates, and we can definitely use more people in the discussions.
Yeah.
We should just do that for an hour. The ASMR Ren and Stimpy grunting hour. That sounds more Beavis and Butthead than Ren and Snippy. All right. You wild folks, have a wonderful evening or good day or whatever time it is in your neck of the woods. See you later.